Would you still consider yourself to be a newcomer?
Um, yeah, I think I'm still a newcomer here.
Yeah.
Well, I know like everything in Calgary now, but yeah, I'm still like a newcomer, and I don't know. I'm 100% sure I don't know everything. But like someone who lived here.
Yeah. Yeah. Still something you're working towards.
Yeah,
Totally. Um. So then, looking looking back on your 4 years here, um, is there anything that you might any advice that you would give yourself if you were able to just go back in time and meet yourself when you first
yeah,
moved here?
yeah, definitely. Well, my fair advice to myself because when I arrived here, I wasted a lot of time by well, I arrived here. I took the English test. I got 6 out of 8. Uh, in order to get to university or to want to do any kind of studies, you need 8, 7 to 8 depends on like which department you're going to study. And honestly, I didn't study the English. I didn't go to classes, which is was free for me. I didn't do the IELTS, and I didn't go to college. I wasted like 3 years, like the first 3 years of my life here. I'm doing nothing. So if I went to college, if I went like to do my my telecommunication engineering degree, I could have just like do a master degree here, and for these 3 years I would have done now. I would have done it now, but I wasted that time. I could have done something else. I worked in health and safety back home. All my certification and blah 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 is it's for the like international standards different than Canada standards. It's not that a huge difference, but it's still you need to get like certification from the country to get able to work in health and safety here.
Mhm.
And I wasted all of that time, and I didn't do it. So yeah, I would say like when sorry, like in the first time you arrived here, try to have a plan and try to like follow that plan. Don't waste your time. Like if you need to start, if you think like you're not gonna get the same job you used to have back home, and you want to like have a better life here and you have better jobs, like just set your blinds and start studying for it. Like you need to have certificates from here, at least certificates like for 6 months certificate, or you can go to state or like a UFC or any other college here. So but pretty much, my advice is not do not waste your time. And
Momin admits he did not have any surprises moving to Canada because he's familiar with the Canadian culture from stories his wife shared with him and previous work experiences working with Canadians. He recalls the happiest memory in his life happened in Canada with the birth of his daughter Rose. Bowman notes the healthcare here is much better than the one his wife and daughter would have received back in Iraq. He takes me back to his life back in Iraq.
I was born 1989, and the war just ended. Like the 8 years war with Iran just ended, and the Iraq started like building itself again. I tried, especially like I live in a city deep south, like in the border with Iran,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this city is pretty much destroyed during the war, and they just start to build everything back. And after 2 years, we had another war, like the Gulf War, the Gulf War. Uh, like thank God I was too young. I can't remember all these things. I just only heard a story about it. I was like 2 3 years old,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't remember anything about that. But other than that, like I grew up like in the 90s. The life was very simple for us, like very simple. Like go to school, go back home, eat, have lunch, take shower, sleep, the afternoon nap. Then you can normally, well, in my age, we used to go out to play. Like we didn't have any iPads or iPhones or all these kind of stuff. So we used to go out like play football, not soccer. Normally, we have like a different time of the year. Like every time of the year, we have like some sort of a game to play with it. And it was very simple life. Like for me it was a happy life. I didn't have like some sort of difficulties because maybe I was a child over there when like in the 90s. I didn't have any responsibilities or any family to take care of, so I was like like my day was go to school, go back home and play with the friends, and that's it. And until like 2003, and the American invasion happened, and everything changed. That's like a totally different phase. It was from the like before 2003.
What he remembers vividly was the lawlessness and what he describes as total chaos from daily suicide bombings. This form of suffering continued until 2005. Even after 2 years in between, there were still economic problems.
It was like it started getting better step by step. Like by 2007, we start having international companies like Waterford into the country, and they start working in oil and gas industry. By 2010, we have like three others or four other companies, and majorly is British Petroleum entered, and they have a contract with the oil and gas ministry in Iraq, and they start their project. Uh, British Petroleum, they have a huge project in the Middle East, like especially in Iraq. It's very huge projects. And after that, when like in 2 years, I would say by 2012 or 2013, we have in the oil field in Basra, we have 1,600 international company working just only in Basra. So you can imagine like the difference in just only 2 3 years from only one international company was that they took the chance and go to Iraq, and by 2012 or 13 we have 1,600. Was It's a huge differences.
But just when things were looking up, another conflict would change his way of life once again.
But by 2014, you just wake up in the morning and you hit up like the ISIS took one of the biggest cities in Iraq, in the north of Iraq, and it's we starting another war with ISIS then. And it took us like around 2 to 3 years to take all the cities they took back. Uh, that's in general, like for everybody. But for me, I was living in the deep south. I was working in oil and gas industry. I've never been part in any of these wars, and just only like I heard about them on the news. And to be honest, I've seen a lot of friends like they went to the war and they fought in the war. Some of them they didn't come back, and some of them they come back with with permanent injuries, I would say. It wasn't a happy place for everybody, but thank God when I chose a life, I chose like to go through like different paths than the others, and most of the time I spent is working and like traveling. I used to travel a lot more than here.
Moamin loves his country, heritage, and culture, but he knows moving to Canada was the best decision for him and his family, even though at first it wasn't the easiest.
To be honest, for the first 6 months I arrived here, I wanted to go back, like in my mind, and I wanted to spend because I have used to some certain life, like to some certain stuff I do and every day. So I want to keep doing it. Like I want to keep going on the same path of life. When I was back home and I arrived in 6 months here, it was like a total different. And even at that, I know the challenging is going to be here and the differences, but I still like after 6 months, I find it like a little bit difficult, and like in my mind, I wanted to go back, but I found out that my wife is pregnant, and when we have the baby here, when we have my daughter here, everything has changed. So to be honest, now no, I want to stay here. Like I want to spend the rest of my life here with my daughter.
For the Calgary Journal, I'm Julio Absolute.